Hello, all you beautiful people out there. I'm here. Let's go out for another walk. Right now, as you can see, it is like gray, overcast. It looks like it's about ready to pour down rain. That's why I got my hat on. It's kind of like my designated rain hat. I love this hat. My wife got me this hat for my birthday a few years back. And I love wearing it, so but this is perfect for weather like this, just in case it starts to rain. But I actually do hope it does rain today, because we need the rain. California needs the rain. Very, very distinctly, California needs the rain. But I hope you all enjoyed the Super Bowl. I know I did. It was actually a really good game. I was really happy with how it all came out. I wasn't really necessarily rooting for either team. I wanted to see a good game. That was my whole shtick. I was like, sometimes when your team isn't in it, and there are just two teams in there, you just really can't, you can't root for. You just hope for a good game. And congratulations to the Seattle Seahawks for winning the Super Bowl, bringing home their second, get that right, their second Lombardi trophy. Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the season, I would never have thought they'd beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, but there they were. And I'm happier more for Sam Darnold than I am for anybody else, because the way his career trajectory, trying to say all these big words, has happened in the last few years. I mean, geez, you get drafted by of all teams, the Jets, and of course the Jets being the franchise that they are, in their prominence of mediocrity, chewed him up, spit him out, went on to the next shiny thing. And I'm always amazed at, and we'll get into this more in a little bit, but I'm always amazed at how some teams are just, they love mediocrity. They love being the team that just always wants to get in the top 5 in the draft the next year. But a lot of times it's always the same teams in the draft, the top 5 in the draft. It's kind of weird. It's kind of crazy. It's like management and ownership don't know how to run their teams, but we'll get at it in a minute. But I'm happy for Sam Darnold, because he was actually, when I saw him play, I thought he was actually, pretty good. I thought he was, I didn't think he was a bad quarterback. I just thought he was on a bad team. And I think he got some of his mojo back being the backup at the 49ers. And then he went to the Vikings the next season, and he takes the Vikings to 14-3. And what do the Vikings do? They don't bother to renew his contract. How is it that a quarterback can take your team to 14-3 into the playoffs, and you don't bother to re-sign him, thinking that it'll be better if you just got put it in the hands of J.J. McCarthy, your second-year quarterback? But that is what happened, and the Vikings missed the playoffs. And the team that Darnold went to, the Seattle Seahawks, won the Super Bowl. So I'm glad he got a ring. I think it's much deserved. Will he win another one? Only time will tell. But I like it when teams are able to turn their fortunes around. I like it when you have teams who have been mired in, mediocrity for so long. They finally turn their fortunes around and they win the big one. They go to the playoffs. Something that's never been expected. Something that some teams, I think, will never in this current day and age, like the, you know, like the Jets, like the Browns. How could the Browns, who was at one point an NFL gold, all of a sudden be mired in mediocrity? Just, hey, we're not going to make ourselves better. We're always going to be in the top 5 of draft picks every year, and we're going to pick the, you know, worst players. You just ask Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel was never a top 5 pick. Never. Guy didn't have that. The guy was a head case. He had the talent. He had the talent, but he didn't have the head space. And you would think that people who would know football would be able to figure that out. But they're, you know, and then last year they drafted 2 quarterbacks, both of which needed a lot of seasoning, you know. But, you know, there we go. Browns are, and then you get teams, let me ask, then you get teams who are like, they were once great, but all of a sudden, you know, can't seem to get out of their own way. I mean, look at the Raiders, and I still think of them as the Oakland Raiders. But look at the Raiders. You know, once one of the biggest names in football. You know, won multiple Super Bowls, and yet for some reason, the Raiders cannot seem to, in the last few years, get past mediocrity. They're back in the hunt for a top draft pick. And I didn't think Geno Smith was that bad of a quarterback, but if you can't protect him, how in the world is he supposed to be able to throw to anybody? Look at the Cowboys, America's team. Always seem to get so close, and yet, well, I mean, that answer has to do with a lot of their front office. Let's be honest. Jerry Jones should be just an owner. He shouldn't be in the front office making decisions. He proved how disastrous he was at that when he let Jimmy Johnson go. How many more Super Bowls could the Cowboys have won, or even better yet, still win, if Jimmy Johnson was their head coach? Because of Jerry Jones's ego, well, we all see what's been going on there. And Dak Prescott's not a bad quarterback. I didn't think Tony Romo was a bad quarterback. They finally have the surrounding cast behind him, but the Cowboys' defense is atrocious. Shoot, you, me, and 9 of our friends could probably beat the Cowboys with the defense they got now. And I'm in my 50s. And then you have some teams that are just, they have their bad seasons, but they always seem to work their way back up the, you know, the pole. They always seem to work their way back to the playoffs. So 49ers and all, and my team, the 49ers, which I'm glad that, you know, Darnold won a ring. I hope he has great success in Seattle, except I hope he loses every time he plays the 49ers. But the 49ers, in all intents and purposes, probably should never have made the playoffs. They made it as a wild card team. Their injuries stacked upon each other, and yet for some reason their coaching staff always kept them in the game. Always figured out ways to win. The Bears look really good this year. I hope they continue to do well. It's always amazing when you see these teams that had a history of, you know, being mediocre, all of a sudden making the playoffs. I think it's a good thing. And I'm not saying I want to talk about parity. I'm saying that, hey, let's, you know, what should happen is that the NFL should be entertaining. And I'm not saying that, should be entertaining like, pro wrestling is entertaining. I'm saying that we should be able to know that when teams are facing off each other, it's going to be good games. We're going to have good games. We're not going to have games where we know exactly who's going to win. You know exactly who you're going to put your money on. I'm going to cross here because someone's mowing their lawn down there. I want to see entertaining football games. I want to see close football games. I don't want to sit there, despite the demise of the Chiefs this year, which eventually all that happens. Once you have a dynasty, it eventually starts to come down because players move on to other teams, and coaching staffs move on to other teams. And look at the Patriots all those years. They pretty much kept Brady together with all, they sometimes changed the cast of characters around them, but Brady and Belichick were on the same page. They all knew what it was they were going to be doing. They were going to go out there and they were going to win. And I like the idea of, two teams coming together and you're watching an entertaining game and you don't know who's going to win. And I expect the Chiefs to bounce back. I expect Mahomes to bounce back. Every great quarterback bounces back from their injury. Every great quarterback has a bad year, and they learn from it. They regroup, and they become a better team. And that's what I hope for a lot of these teams. I hope a lot of these teams are able to just regroup, stop living in the land of mediocrity, and start being competitive. Look at the Colts this year. They changed one thing. They got a quarterback, Daniel Jones, who was basically thrown away from the Giants. And a lot of people are saying that if Jones hadn't gotten hurt, they'd have made the playoffs. And I agree. You root for guys like this. You root for teams like this. You hope they never beat your team. But you want to see players like this, like a Sam Darnold, come back and put something into their career. And I think this is the first step to Sam Darnold having a long, memorable career. I'm not going to say illustrious, but memorable. At the very least, it's memorable. By the way, before I sign off, because I'm going to get back inside, I'm tired, I want to congratulate Roger Craig, who was long overdue for being in the Hall of Fame. Long overdue for being in the Hall of Fame. That dude should have been in the Hall of Fame years ago. And he's finally in. I'm happy about that. I'm happy Drew Brees is in the Hall of Fame. A lot of this time is like about time. It's about time. I'm happy for it. Anyway, thank you for coming on my walk with me and letting me ramble about this. I really appreciate it. I will talk to you all later.